Hi again. I'm going to talk a bit more about school phobia in this video, but mainly about what we're experiencing and getting really familiar with our own experience of school phobia, because once we're familiar with what's happening and we see it clearly, we're in a much better place to do something about it. So I first developed school phobia when I was like 4.5 or 5, my first day at school. So it's sort of, it all went from there, yeah. And as I told you in the last video, that school phobia then went on right to the end of school and pretty much when I was a school teacher as well. So 25, 26 years, yeah. By the time I was probably 6 or 7, I don't think I could really remember why I became school phobic or what I was initially scared of. It did get replaced by other things, but they were all school related. But there was obviously something that triggered it in the first place when I was very young. And then just the whole idea of school became a really anxious thing for me. And anything in the school environment could almost set me off. Like, too many people in the corridor or someone that I wasn't getting on with, and they just became massive issues. The only thing that stayed the same from the age of 5 to the age of 25 was how school made me feel in my body. Yeah? The symptoms that I experienced when I went to school or even thought about school were exactly the same. So when I was 5, when I was 15, when I was 25, if I had to go to school or if I had to think about school, I felt sick immediately. My stomach, it was felt like it was full of worms. I get tightness in my shoulders. I get like a flush of heat up to my head, and I felt very sort of faint and just like I wanted to go to bed basically and hide under the covers. So although the sort of reasons why I didn't want to go to school would often shift, and I just didn't want to go there, the actual sensation or symptoms in the body were always the same. And this is really, really important, because what actually happened over time and what happens to most of us is that rather than becoming directly afraid of school, we become afraid of the physical symptoms that we feel that we attach to the idea of school. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So we may believe that we like the idea of a school building in our head. Let's think. I think about school, and what do I think in my head? I think of the school gates where I went to school. I think of what the building looks like. That's what first pops into my head. But I can't be afraid of a building made out of bricks and cement. It's like there's no way that can help unless it collapses on my head. That can't help me. The gates and the idea of the path into the school, I don't like that thought. But actually, the gates can't hurt me. The path can't hurt me, and the thought itself can't hurt me. So but what I really dislike is that when I think about those gates, when I think about that building, when I think about that path and the door into the school, something happens in my body. I get these symptoms of sickness and lightheadedness and wanting to just run and hide. But what I'm really reacting to at this point are the feelings, not the school itself. It's the idea of school, but what I've become really sensitive to and what I react to and are afraid of is how it makes me feel. So because it brings up these certain symptoms, my brain then assumes that school is inherently just a bad place and dangerous for me to be at. Yeah. So the first thing we have to do is to understand what our symptoms are, and then we will start to see how this works. Yeah. So this is really, really important and really key to us moving forward through, our school phobia. So I'm going to offer a challenge to you, and you don't have to do this at all. But if you feel at some point that you are comfortable enough to have a go at it, then give it a little try. So just for a few seconds, or as short or long as you feel comfortable, just get the thought of going to school in your head. Yeah, just to let that be there. And what that thought emerges like will be different for all of us. It might be an image, it might be a feeling, it might be like a collage of sounds and different pictures and so on. It's very hard to pinpoint what a thought is, but just let that idea of going to school appear if you feel that you can. Now you're going to notice as soon as that appears, you're going to start getting some symptoms in your body. That might be, like me, a feeling of sickness. It might be a tightness in your chest, like you can't breathe. It might be a heat in the face. It could be anything at all that's particular and special to you. If you've got a pen and paper, you can always write that down. If you don't like writing stuff down, just try and be aware of it and keep it in your memory so you know what happens. Now, the first challenge we're going to do from this video is that I'd like you just to monitor and be aware of every time in the next few days that you think about school or something arises about school or you have to go to school. Rather than focusing on the school, I'd like you just to be aware of what's going on in your body. Yeah, and notice if what you really are disliking the most is actually just an idea of school, or is it really the idea of whatever this thing about school is making your body feel like, what the symptoms are. What is it that we really are sensitive to? So that's just an experiment. It's something for us to explore, and it will start to unravel a lot of what's going on. So I hope that's useful. Of course, don't make yourself do it if it's uncomfortable, but if you feel comfortable enough at any time, I guarantee that you'll start to understand your school phobia a bit better. All right, good luck, and I'll see you in the next video with some tips about how we can start working with our new found knowledge. All right, bye.